that because of Swim Inc. Believe it or not. All right, I was asked, how did I get involved with this wonderful organization? And it will be 19 years ago, this coming January, that I joined SWIM. And at that time, I was, well, in order for you to understand, I'm a polio survivor. And I had polio in 1948, and post polio syndrome hit me in 1978. And it continued to intensify. At that time, thanks to the soft vaccine, the number of polio cases dwindled. But as a result, the doctors that were taking care of the polio survivors were dying off or retiring. And it got to the point where we had all these wonderful medical people, but no one knew about polio. And it turns out that after 25 years or thereabouts, it depends on how intense the virus had attacked. And since I was paralyzed and on one side, I was one of the paralytic cases. Well, by 1986, the pain and the fatigue and the weakness began. And it intensified. And if you remember, today they say, use it or lose it. Oh, well, that's almost the wrong advice to follow for a polio survivor. The key word that also needs to be added is in moderation with continuous rest periods. Well, I didn't know about that. So as a result, I kept thinking, oh, gee, use it or lose it. I am going to lose it because I'm not exercising enough. And so I pushed. And by 1994, I was a total body of pain. And when I would wake up in the middle of the night and have to make a little trip to the WC, I could barely make it. I almost crawled on the floor. I was in so much pain, so much weakness, and I just wanted to sleep all the time. There was so much fatigue. And finally, I had to quit my job. I just couldn't do the job in the way that I wanted to do. I was a teacher for 29 years, and I worked with K through 8th grade students. And so I told my husband, the time has come, I have to retire. And when I was in elementary school, one exercise that they had me do was swimming. And I remembered that. And as I was going through the newspapers, I saw Swim Inc. And you know what really captured my attention? F-R-E-E. That's what captured my attention. Plus, it was nearby. And I said, oh, this sounds great. I can afford it. I can go. And so after joining Bridgewater Chapter Swim, I got into the water, and I was only able, with the assistance of my husband, to walk about 10 to 14 trips. That's going from, about 21 feet. Okay, so you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that was it. And I had to get out. Well, I continued, and I continued going to Bridgewater. And then I joined Flemington chapter because my doctor said, you know, if you could get into the water more often, it would really help. And I said, yeah, but I'm so tired. I only have my energy in the morning. So one of the volunteers says, well, you know what? Flemington chapter has their meetings in the morning. Friday mornings, 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock is the water, and then 11:30 to 12:30, social hour. And if there's any volunteer out there, we could use an able-bodied female to help a 29-year veteran swimmer with MS, to help her get up out of the wheelchair so we can slide off her clothes and then get her up out of the wheelchair and slip the clothes back on after she does her laps. And swimming has helped her to do that. But during the process of going to both chapters, I was able to get a little bit more mobility. And my husband likes to brag that, guess how many laps I'm swimming? Okay, that's now the length of the pool, 60 laps. Okay. And I owe it all to Doris and Russ Hollingsworth. And I was very, very fortunate, as well as my husband, because in 1998, Eileen McAvoy, the 10-year veteran coordinator, had to step aside, and she asked me to step in. So I've been Flemington chapter coordinator for 16 years. And as a result, I was able to work with Doris, and I was able to get some old pictures, plus I was able to have lunch with her because we were hummers. We enjoyed hummingbirds, and she had the ideal location. We counted sitting there at the little nook, eating our little sandwiches, 50 hummers humming around and eating. And then her husband Russ decided that he wanted to make up a new brochure so that we could get more people in and benefit from the water therapy. And so my husband got to work with Russ. And it was through working with Doris and Russ that we became acquainted with John. And John kept saying, Eleanor, you know, you gotta slow down a little bit. Eleanor, you have to get more help. And I said, yes, but who's gonna help? And thanks to John's little voice in my head, I now have a co-coordinator who's outstanding, right, John? Yeah. But when I look at John, I can see all of the different members that are part of SWIM. And it almost seems like, you know that saying, like, go with like, so the employees will look on Facebook and they'll read and see what kind of people are you communicating and what are they saying about you. Well, what I can say about John, you can say about Doris and about us. There's a warmth that comes out, it's radiating outward. And with that comes the smiles and the friendliness and the caring and the concern and want to do. And this is what I see in John. And he's like a partner. You know, you just can't step away. You want to join him. And you've been just an inspiration, really, these past 8 years. And I feel honored that I got to know and work with you. So thank you. All right? Thank you.